Well, evening all. Here we are again. Nice chilly Hawke's Bay evening. Beautiful crisp autumn night. Got the fire going. There's a terrier sleeping over there. And here I am with a couple of wines and a little story. So, as what we're going to do this evening is we'll do the first wine, then I'll bore you with a story, and then we'll do the last one, and then I'll sign off. Anyway, this evening I've got a Trinity Hill Marsanne Viognier from 2018 and a Parateur Stone Paddock Syrah from 2016. A couple of wines we haven't looked at before, a couple of varieties we haven't looked at before. So, the first one is the Trinity Hill Marsanne Viognier. So, Marsanne and Viognier, both from, well, their spiritual home, you could say, is the Rhone Valley, specifically in this case, northern Rhone. Viognier is grown there, and Marsanne and Roussanne, which is another one of these strange white varietals. Viognier, quite popular in this country. A lot of people don't like it because they have trouble pronouncing it. It's spelt Viognier, and it is pronounced Viognier. So that Viognier, basically, it's quite a difficult grape to grow. At one stage, I think in the late 70s it was, or early 80s, it was down to around 85 hectares planting in the entire world. Now it's up to about 3,500 hectares, and the majority of it, funnily enough, is in Australia and New Zealand. In the northern Rhone, they do make white wines out of it. It's in a Saint-Joseph Blanc or Condrieu, perhaps. But yeah, it's also used very small amounts, usually around 5%, is put in with co-fermented with Syrah, and that's for two reasons. Firstly, it adds a slight floral lift to the Syrah. This is in the northern Rhone, and the second reason is that it helps to stabilise the colour in the Syrah. Anyway, I think I'd better get my snout into this before you sort of die of boredom or thirst, or both. Okay. So, Viognier and Marsanne are both sort of aromatics. Their flavour, sort of aroma profile, is quite sort of that sort of peach blossom and sort of nectarines and apricots and things like that. And this particular wine has a classic sort of apricot and peach blossom nectarine sort of nose. Nice ripe stone fruit sort of characters going in. So that's quite rich on the palate. It's quite unctuous. It's got a bit of palate weight. That probably comes more from the Viognier than the Marsanne, but both of them are sort of varieties that give a little bit more palate weight than some. A little bit of a phenolic sort of finish, but that's good because it's a really good food wine. This I'd probably have with your sort of pork dishes, maybe a lamb tagine or something like that, but also pork dishes, pork and prunes sort of thing, or pork with a sort of rich creamy sauce, or chicken, that would be pretty good. It's one of those wines that's in the sort of crossover zone, like a good robust Chardonnay would be good in the crossover zone between sort of chicken and pork, and then not quite into red meat, but almost. Anyway, that really is delicious. So now, story time. So the story I'm going to tell you is about a walk I once took with my father. We were on the Isle of Wight. It was summertime, and my father and I were walking our then 2 dogs. That was Dagwood 1, not the Dagwood you saw last night, his predecessor, or ancestral precursor, Dagwood 1. And we happened to have a really revolting elderly black pug called Mackerson, who was the most disgusting creature you've ever come across. By this stage he was getting quite old. He didn't have any teeth left, was totally incontinent, and really quite a repulsive beast. But we loved him. Anyway, Dad and I had been up on the downs in Bembridge, in the Isle of Wight, taking them for a bit of a spin. And as it was quite a hot day, and we got to the top of the downs there, and funnily enough, there's a pub there called Culverhaven. It's still there to this day. And as was our sort of habit, we decided we might stop in there for a quick pint of Bass, which the old man was rather fond of, and sort of converted me to as well. That's real ale, sort of warm beer, English sort of style, but delicious. Anyway, we'd been inside and we'd got our pints and come back out, and we were sitting outside at just on one of those sort of picnic benches, drinking our pints, and Dagwood was sitting off to one side, sort of puffing away gently, and then Mackerson, who, because he was sort of rather old and rather unfit, was lying under the table and panting horribly. I mean, when he was tired like that, he sounded a little bit like a coffee machine that was a little bit broken. It's a ghastly noise. Anyway, he was lying under the table, and we were sitting there quietly having our pints and chatting about things. And at that particular moment, a Yorkshireman appeared with his 2 young sons. They would have been sort of, one of them would have been 7 and the other would have been about 9, I suppose. He'd obviously gone in and got himself a drink and got his kids a drink and some crisps and come outside, and he sat down on a picnic bench not too far away from us. And his 2 young sons, weren't really very interested in the retriever because that was a little bit ersatz for them, I think. But this revolting pug and the ghastly sort of noises it was making kind of intrigued them. All people love a pug because it's something to do with the squashed face. But anyway, his 2 young lads were sort of badgering him and saying, "Dad, can we go and pet that dog?" And he was sort of digging his toes in and said, "No, you can't." So my father, sort of being the sort of nice chap that he was, leant over and said, "Oh, it's quite all right. He doesn't bite. He hasn't got any teeth. He couldn't bite you. And this Yorkshireman turned to my father and gave him a rather baleful sort of Yorkshire look and said, "Aye, but he looks like he could give you a nasty suck." At which point, of course, Daddy and I felt a bit, hysterical. Very Yorkshire. And so those boys didn't get to pet the pug because of danger of a nasty suck. But anyway, that was my story for this evening. And now, I'll just finish this off and we'll have a look at the next one. Right. Parateur, Stone Paddock, Syrah, 2016. 16 was quite a good year for reds, certainly in the bay here. Syrah is one of the sort of jewels in Hawke's Bay's crown. I think we grow the best Syrah in New Zealand and possibly in the Southern Hemisphere, although the Aussies would sort of say that their Shiraz is pretty good, although stylistically you know, they go for a bit more sort of weight and grunt in theirs, which is why they call it Shiraz. It's the same grape as Syrah. Apparently brought from Shiraz in Persia in those days to the Northern Rhine by a chap called Herbert de Villaine, where they changed the name to Syrah, and we call ours Syrah because stylistically we're probably closer to the Northern Rhine than we are to the Australian style. And you know, Shiraz being in Persia and a lot hotter, probably made much more robust wines as the Australians do. Anyway, that's Shiraz and Syrah, same thing. There you go. Now, I shall just get into this. Oh yeah. So it's got a pretty classic sort of Syrah nose, which you sort of expect. It's quite a peppery, sort of spicy thing. We tend to get a little bit more sort of the white, fresh white pepper than the black pepper, because the Australians, who get it a lot riper, tend to get a bit more of that black pepper sort of character. Although, you know, this is, you know, good fresh white pepper, delicious, really good for cooking as well. I actually had a delicious butterflied leg of lamb earlier this evening, and I actually took a sneak preview of this with it, and it was absolutely delicious. So if you are having some lamb in the near future, get yourself some Syrah. Better taste it. White pepper, cloves, spice, little bit of leatheriness from oak. Yeah, great balance. Good Syrah in this country has reasonably high acidity, which is countered by the fruit sweetness. Lovely balance, good length. Just what you need with a nice leg of lamb, as they say. So, I think that's going to be pretty much me for this evening. Short but sweet, because I did ramble on a little bit last night. But well, very good health. Stay safe. Don't pop your bubble just yet. Only a week to go. Patience, patience. Cheers. And as the French would say, or my bastardization of French, au reservoir. And I'll see you tomorrow.